the traveling itself isn't really what makes everything so special, right? It's not like it's a new country. It is, but it's about your state of mind while you're in that country. So, for example, you would find somebody who would just go on a vacation, like for example, once a year or something, and would be in a really shitty state of mind. They would, let's say, they would have a horrible week. They would go to a hotel and just stay in the hotel and be like, okay, great, we had a great time. Let's go back home.
Hey folks, welcome to our show, Aprica Nomad Podcast. This is a monthly show committed in helping you rethink and redefine your idea of traveling and having adventure in your life, expanding your view, desire, interest, and pushing yourself to go out of your comfort zone. It's your boy Abdul, your host for the show. Welcome on board and let's get ready to take off. Hey, beautiful nomad. Welcome to Aprica Nomad Podcast. And today we're receiving very special person, has so much light in himself that he can enlighten this world. His name is Toma Morelov. He's a coach, writer, and marketer, and also community builder. He had coach since his early 20s. Toma create content around relationship and emotional intelligence. After joining Mind Valley, Toma started to lead big marketing, project coaching, communities, as well as heading the product experience of Ever Coach by Mind Valley. He's the host of a meetup around personal growth that currently has around 3,000 members, co-organized flash mobs in various cities around the world, Estonia, Croatia, to name these ones, and helps individuals gain a more holistic perspective on their relationship and life. He holds a master's degree in communication science, has worked in at least 10 different professions. I wonder how many professions I had. As strong extrovert, one would probably never assume that in his youngest years, his passion and strength laid in a game such as chess. Toma, welcome on our podcast. Wow, I'm just kind of impressed with the bio already. I'm trying to copy a little bit and maybe my bio can look like this one. How are you doing?
Thanks, Karim. I think I've never heard this, read out fully. I think I really appreciate that.
Well, make some plans for our research.
Glad to be on the show. Yeah, yeah.
We are so happy to have you on this show. I think you have so much to tell to our audience because I think there is so much content. There's so much things that you've been experiencing when we went through the research, when we went through your bio and trying to understand the person you are, the person you're being now, thanks to whatever experience you had in your life, maybe because of the travel experience or the adventures. But I would just want to start with everything, the genesis, how everything started, maybe starting from your country, as we were just discussing in the beginning, your countries. So can you tell us from the genesis of your life, how things started? Tell about yourself, maybe dig a little bit more about yourself so that we're trying to understand who you are.
Yeah, sure. And I think your guys are nomads, right? So it's the Aprica Nomad podcast. So in a way, it's funny. I never actually considered myself a nomad, but I think
nice. Welcome to the community.
But somehow, thank you. But somehow it kind of turned out that it happened that way. So I was born in Germany. I grew up there. My parents Bulgarian, so I kind of grew up, bilingual. And I think by the time I was honestly, until I was 17, 18, nothing really impressive happened. Just went to school, the classic thing. And I think when my brother went to South America, just to study Spanish, I realized that there is a world beyond the country I live in. And so when I turned, I think at some point, then I was like, you know what? The one thing I know, there's always this moment in my life when I just knew one thing has to happen. Do you have that sometimes? Yeah. When you're you go through it and you're there's a few things I want to learn. There's projects, yes, but there's sometimes you just know, right? And there was this one thing that I just knew. And that was that I will want definitely to be speaking English fluently. So it's funny because we have this conversation in English, right? And it feels this guy's natural English. No, until I was 18, my English sucked. I couldn't speak an entire sentence in English. Somehow I just knew that English would just open up the world for me. And in a way I went that direction. When I went to university, I went abroad to Austria, which is also German speaking country. So, not that far. You're okay. But funnily, I found a lot of international friends and got into this group of people who are from everywhere. And yeah, through them, I actually learned English. So yeah, there's people who basically, like, there was this one guy who was kind of telling stories all the time. And I think I almost copied literally 90% of what he's saying. And after a while,